Remember when we talked about how to care for an injury to a muscle, bone, or joint? Sure you do. Remember? Rice.
Rest, immobilize, cold, and elevate. We told you that it's best not to move the injured body part unless you really have to. But when you do have to move a child with this type of injury, you'll need to splint the injury to prevent the bones and joints from shifting around and causing the injury to get worse.
There are 3 basic kinds of splints: anatomic splints, soft splints, and rigid splints.
An anatomic splint uses another part of the person's body to immobilize an injured area. A leg can be splinted to a leg, a finger to a finger, or an arm to the chest.
A soft splint can be a folded blanket, a towel, or a pillow. Soft splints can be easily shaped to fit around an injured area.
A triangular bandage, when tied as a sling, is another kind of soft splint used to support the arm. A rigid splint can be a board like this one, or you could use a magazine, cardboard, or newspaper. Any splint can be used to minimize movement. The method you choose will depend on the materials available and the location of the injury.
There are a few general hints about splinting an injury. First, don't try to move or straighten the body part. Instead, splint the injury in the position you find it. A splint should immobilize the areas above and below the site of the injury. For example, if the injury is to a joint, immobilize the bones above and below the joint. If the injury is to a bone, immobilize the joints above and below that bone.
No matter what splinting method you choose, always follow these steps. Support the injured area. Check for feeling, warmth, and color, which lets you know that blood is circulating. Place the splint. Tie the splint in place and recheck for feeling, warmth, and color to make sure the splint is not too tight.
Now comes the fun part. Let's show everybody how to apply a splint. Which kind of splint should we show? How about, let's say we're way out in the wilderness. One of the campers falls and breaks his leg. We could search the forest until we find a tree branch and some vines to splint the leg. Then we could find more branches and make a platform so we can lay him on it and drag him to safety.
Yeah, sure, we could do that, Daniel Boone. Or we could show the 2 most common kinds of splints, the ones used most often by babysitters who aren't backpacking in the Amazon.
You're no fun. But you're right. Again. Babysitters, let the non-wilderness splinting begin.
A soft splint, such as a folded blanket like this one, can be used to splint an injured ankle. To begin, support the injured area. If the injured leg is against the ground is supporting the injured area. Check for feeling, warmth, and color. Find out if the child has feeling in the toes and if the skin is warm or cool. If the injured child is wearing a shoe, you'll only be able to check for feeling. Do not remove the shoe. To place a splint, thread several folded triangular bandages above and below the injured area. Guide each triangular bandage through the gap under either the knee or ankle and slide it into position. This will help minimize movement of the injured ankle. Place 2 bandages above the ankle and 1 at the heel. Gently wrap the folded blanket around the injured area. Because it is soft, the blanket will mold itself around the injury. Tie the splint in place by tying the ends of each bandage together. Tie the bandages snugly so the foot and the ankle do not move. Do not tie anything directly over the injured area. Finally, recheck for feeling, warmth, and color to make sure the splint is not too tight. If the child has lost feeling in the toes, or if the skin has become cool, pale, or bluish, loosen the splint a little.
A sling is a special kind of soft splint used for immobilizing an injured arm or shoulder. To begin, support the injured area. If possible, have the child help you. Check the fingers for feeling, warmth, and color. To place the sling, thread one end of the triangular bandage under the injured arm and over the uninjured shoulder. Position the point of the triangular bandage at the elbow. Bring the other end across the chest and over the opposite shoulder. Tie the ends of the sling at the side of the neck. Next, use a folded triangular bandage to bind the sling to the chest. This binder prevents movement of the arm. Finally, recheck the fingers for feeling, warmth, and color to make sure the splint is not too tight.
The kind of splint you use to immobilize an injured area depends on the location of the injury and the materials you have available to make a splint. The goal is to immobilize the injured area to minimize movement.
And remember, splint only if you must move or transport the child, and only if you can do it without causing more pain or discomfort. Splint the injury in the position you find it, and splint above and below the injured area.
You tied that up very nicely.
Tied up. I get it. Very funny.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm supposed to do the jokes around here.
Next time. Say goodbye, Mike.
Goodbye, Mike.